Greetings, Goddess Body, Mind, Spirit community. This is your Goddess Guru, Tirra-Omilade, here to share a word of inspiration with you for your Pisces new moon. Full moon. Lord, full moon in Pisces. Here, September the 13th, 2019. Guess what? This is a special day for me. This is the day that I became a mom for the first time 19 years ago. My son is 19. I was like, oh, happy birthday to you. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. This is the day I became a mom. Wow, what a full moon memory. I hope that everything is going well for you all. We're in this full moon phase. How are you feeling? I'd like to start off by saying, first and foremost, thank you to all of you who tune in, who watch my past videos, who tune into my lives, all that kind of good stuff. Glad you are here. Welcome to all of the newbies. I would like to send a shout out to my newest Patreon member. Her name is Azizi. Welcome, Azizi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Greetings, greetings. How are you? So thank you to everybody for being here. I just wanted to get on and talk about, that's what I was going to ask, Patrice. I was going to get on and talk about this full moon. I do want to ask, how are you feeling? How are you doing? You know, to a certain degree, Patrice has written in the chat, feeling overwhelmed and emotional. Who feels overwhelmed and emotional? You know what? Pisces new moon, a full moon, anything Pisces, you might be feeling emotional. You might be feeling overwhelmed. We know that Pisces is about the ocean. It's a feminine sign. It's a water sign. So yeah, we might be feeling overwhelmed in Pisces. Okay, so Nanette says she's feeling, yes, I think Nanette, yes, is feeling that way too. Nanette is feeling that way too. So yeah, I can actually say I honestly feel a little bit, okay, cool, overwhelmed too, though mine is not necessarily emotional. It has more to do with what I'm working on. And, you know, we can think about Pisces like that. It's the ocean, right? And Pisces has no limits. It's the last sign of the zodiac. And it is what, when we're dealing with Pisces, things sort of go into a place where there's no borders, there's no boundaries. It's like what we think about with the ocean. No borders, no boundaries. We're dealing with the ocean. And so this is why things in Pisces can seem so overwhelming. The other thing that I think is contributing to perhaps this overwhelming feeling that we're experiencing is because we have so much mutable energy going on. I can't remember if I talked about this publicly. I know I talked about this in my membership site where I mentioned that we have so much mutable energy, and mutable is about making changes. It's somewhere in between. It's not the beginning. It's not the holding space. It's where you're looking at something, looking to see where does it need to be improved, which I talked about that quite a bit in the videos that I put out about Virgo. And so we could be feeling overwhelmed because our stuff is coming up. Is your stuff coming up? And you're feeling overwhelmed. You know you need to do something, but you're sort of like feeling like, I don't know exactly what I need to do, which we do know what we need to do. You know, but a lot of times change is not easy. And so I had problems trying to name this video because I was trying to decide, should I label it change or should I label it structure? Because both are in order right now. So very good. Yes. Aw. So your sun sign, Marcus, is in Pisces. Yeah, Pisces might really be feeling it, but I know everyone is probably feeling this full moon just because it's in Pisces. Neptune is in Pisces. And then I said I was going to start showing y'all something to think about is we got Virgo over here and Pisces over here, and they are 180 from each other. So we have all this energy coming from Virgo shooting over here to Pisces. And to a certain degree, Virgo is like, now you know what you need to get done. You know what you need to change. So we probably don't need to be crying about it. You need to just go on ahead and do it. Like Virgo gives that bitter pill that nobody wants to hear. Virgo is like, you know what the problem is. Or if you don't know what the problem is, I will tell you what the problem is. And you just need to go on ahead and fix that. If you deal with people who have Virgo energy, their thing is, let's do it. Whereas Pisces is sort of like, it's energy that wants to be relaxed. It doesn't necessarily want to make changes. I'm not saying Pisces people. I'm saying Pisces energy. It doesn't necessarily all the time want to make the changes. But what I'm here to tell you today, based on, to a certain degree, just what's going on astrologically, but also what came of the Metu Neter. Y'all know my Metu Neter. Who loves the African oracles? I love the African oracles. All praises to the Afros. Giving thanks to those who were able to remember, to give it to us, to bring it back to us, all that kind of good stuff. So this is my African, it's from Egypt, or some people say Kemet. This is the energy of Sekert. It's actually in what we call Hetep. And Hetep means there's balance. And so there is this, perhaps we're feeling emotional because we're getting a swift kick as to this is what you know the frick you need to do. But, you know, change is not easy. Change is not easy. That we have emotional attachments, and I'm speaking as somebody going through this. All right. When we begin to make change, all of our stuff begins to come up. But what I love about Sekert, which merges the practical Virgo energy that we're in right now with this very spiritual energy of Pisces, because Pisces is spiritual. It's one of the most spiritual signs of the zodiac. And just because, now, let me stop and ask you, have you ever taken time to put your information into a birth chart calculator to find out where your moon is, what your rising sign is? I'm looking at right now. For those of you who are on live right now, do you know your rising sign? Do you know your moon sign based on your time of birth? Come on, y'all. Go. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, let me know, because I know it takes a moment for me to see some of the comments come in. I was sitting here. Okay, very good, Nanette. Very good. Nice. Okay. So I'm saying all that to say, you know, we think about people whose birthday falls during Pisces season, but some of y'all walking around, we hit 3, 4 planets in Pisces, even one. And you just as Pisces as somebody with their sun there, right? Especially if you have something like Jupiter. Oh, okay. Is it Freehall? Is it because your time of birth isn't accurate? Or are you saying the birth chart calculator wasn't accurate? Okay, so anywho, we have this very spiritual energy of Pisces. There's a lot of ways for people to actually to connect with this energy of Pisces. We all have Pisces somewhere in our chart, and it's heightened for some of us. And so, you know, being spiritual is a little bit of an easier inclination for some people. Some people are a little more logical in their mind, or they're more tactile. And so just thinking of something that's like Pisces, like when we're Pisces, it's like you can see beyond what everybody else can see, right? Whether you have a sign, your sun is in Pisces or not, you could have Pisces energy that makes you very open, or there could be something in your chart that makes you very open to being able to see what other folks can't see. You can sense, you can feel, right? So what we're wanting to know is there is this spiritual place that all of us have to figure out for ourselves. There is a spiritual aspect that if you don't engage this part of yourself, it's like a muscle. This thing gets atrophied, and the next thing you know, on the inside, you feeling some kind of way, and it's not good, right? So we have spiritual Pisces, we have very practical, you need to fix this Virgo, all coming together with other stuff, but all coming together during this full moon. And then we have Sekert, all right? So Sekert is saying, number one, we all need to have a dedication to our spiritual practices. So let me know, do you have a daily spiritual practice? That's step one. If you have a daily spiritual practice, then you are already doing this gap, and it's going to really provide some good information for you during this full moon phase, right? Okay. Sekert. This is Sekert. Sekert also, I relate to the energy of Oya. Now, the full moon or the moon period, that's the domain of Yemonja. And Pisces, I relate to Yemonja also. They're very similar. Pisces and Yemonja, even though Yemonja is like Cancer too. But Pisces and Yemonja, they're very, very similar. So anytime we're dealing with the moon, we always can be working with the energy of Yemonja. Yes? So let's say you're feeling overwhelmed because you don't feel like you feel like you need some nurturance, you need a hug, you need some love. You can always, always, always do rituals and just really seek this energy of nurturance. I know some of us have bad relationships with mama, or if you're like me, my mother is in the ancestral realm. And so some of us have to work a little bit to go get this nurturance. If you've seen some of these videos that I have recently posted about my Dominican Republic trip, I talked about how when I came back, it was with an injured knee. From my husband and I had an accident while we were there, and my knee was badly injured. And I just came back feeling a little bit, well, I love the trip to the Dominican Republic, but this knee made me feel like I wish I had my mom. I know that sounds crazy. I'm almost 50, but it's how I felt, right? And so when I feel like that, I've learned it's no sense in sitting around here feeling like, or just sitting in that. I needed to go find somebody, find some kind of way, talk to some of my friends and say, look, I need somebody to sort of like be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll tell them specifically what I need. Oh, I'm so sorry. Or my friends just say it. Oh, I hurt my knee. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's like, woo, okay, cool. I'm good, right? We can always be doing this whenever we're working, especially with this full moon, because it brings up so much emotion. We can cry it out. We can take, another thing I do is I'll take a blanket and wrap myself in that blanket. Maybe I'll run a nice bath and put some essential oils in it and sit in that, and just sort of like create going back into the womb by sitting in the tub. It's a lot of ways that we can connect with this energy of Yemonja. So we're always talking about Yemonja if we're talking about the moon. In the moon phases, that's different. Each moon phase could represent different faces of the goddess, okay? But in this particular full moon, Oya, I believe, is wanting to speak because Oya is saying some of this stuff is coming up because of some changes you need to make. And in order for us to make the changes, this is one of the best lessons I ever learned. If you remember very few things that I said, let it be one of these. That whenever we're seeking to make a change, whatever we had in place to be where we currently are, we've got to release that. And with that is a mindset, there's emotions, and all of that will come up because it's like, wait a minute, you don't need us? You're going where? You're not going to just stay here? We emotions that are keeping you here are no longer needed. You don't need our services anymore. And they'll come up like, don't do it. Don't let it go. And we feel off centered. And some of it might be a trick of the ego. We feel off center, and we have one or two choices. We can say, you know what? I think I'll just backtrack because that was a little uncomfortable. So I'm just going to stay where I am. Or we can say, you know what? It's coming up. I know it's coming up because I'm making change, right? And that's what Oya is all about. Now, Sekert is not exactly Oya, but this energy relates to Oya because this is the energy of the elder. This energy can be masculine and feminine, according to Tirra-Omilade Nefer Amen, who wrote the Metu Neter. But just in all my studies, y'all see, even that's from the Dominican Republic. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at my knuckles. Woo! That's from that fall that I had, or the scooter accident I had in the Dominican Republic. Sorry about the little squirrel moment. But anywho, I consider to be very similar in all the work I've done. This is very similar to Oya. And so Oya says change has to happen. And when Oya comes through making these changes, we'll feel all this stuff come up. You know, the ego will be like, no, no change, no change, no change. And we have to just sort of like buck up against that ego and say, no, this is where I said I was going to go. And that's another thing I love, love, love about this energy, which is the same energy as Saturn and Capricorn, because it talks about having a plan, right? A change has to happen in order for the plan to unfold. A plan that we could relate it to is, how about your destiny? We can relate this to your destiny. The plan that you should be on track for your destiny. And so we feel these emotions rising up. They feel uncomfortable because we're moving in a new direction. We're being called to move in a new direction. So what Sekert says is you need structure. And this is a thing that a lot of people struggle with. They struggle with having structure. They struggle with having spiritual discipline. And that's what I relate to the Virgo piece, because Virgo is like, we have a to-do list. We need to wake up in the morning and we need to say our prayers. We need to give thanks. We need to write down what we're grateful for. We need to get up and drink some water and do some nice nurturing and healthy things for the body. Then we need to go do some more rituals, perhaps. And we need to study some spiritual text and take what we learn and apply it day in and day out. And so that when all this stuff comes up, okay, I'm taking it to my spiritual practices, the structure of my spiritual practices. This card to me merges the practicality of Virgo, the structure of Virgo, the get it done aspect of Virgo with the beautiful spiritual side of Pisces, because it says you need to be devoted and dedicated to your spiritual practices. I've been telling people I could watch Afrobeats dancing all day. I could listen to the music all day. And at one point I was. But I began to hear, look, this is not really a part of, this is a sliver of what brings life and joy to you, because this talks about having joy in your spiritual practices. But I began to realize it was becoming more of a distraction than actually something that was taking me in the direction of my destiny. So we're always wanting to be pointing ourselves in the direction of our destinies. And so I began to realize that, because what Sekert says is you want to pull yourself back from things, and I put this in quotes, that are secular. And you want to have your mind stayed on spirituality. I'm just telling you what the oracle said. I did not make this up. This is what this is what Sekert says. That you need to find joy in spiritual discipline. You need to find joy in spirituality. And so, you know, it's not sexy. It's Friday. You know, we would be thinking we're getting sexy on Friday. But Sekert is like, no, we're getting sober. This card represents sobriety. It's the same as Saturn and Capricorn. It's about reality check. And some of the emotion and the overwhelm that we could be feeling is a reality check. Maybe we haven't been doing the things that we need to. For me, I'm having a reality check, because the other thing is, I showed y'all, we have Virgo over here, we have Pisces here, and this may not be where they're actually on the astro wheel, but I'm just showing they're 180. And then let's say maybe about right here, coming to this one is probably to Pisces, actually. Yeah, okay, cool. And then this one is to Virgo. This is Saturn down here in Capricorn. It's sending supportive energy to our Virgo houses and our Pisces houses. That is the same energy as this, right? It's bringing supportive energy, thank God. And so it's giving us reality check in a way that perhaps we don't feel like it's going to end up killing us. Because, you know, sometimes when y'all come through, you feel like, am I going to live? This tornado is something else. Sekert in Saturn isn't so much like that, even though it's a very, you know, sobering energy. Maybe not like a tornado, because it's slow and methodical. And that is this energy. But definitely we could be finally seeing, like I'm seeing, oh my gosh, I can see what I need to get done, and this is a lot. But the good news is we're given this opportunity to see the overwhelm, but we can come up with a plan. And it's really, you want to intuit the plan. And people trust the plans that they intuit when they're doing their spiritual practices on a regular basis. Okay. So that's, I think, one of the most important things I can tell y'all. You know, I love for full moons and new moons to be all happy-go-lucky and magical and mystical, but sometimes the universe brings us what we need, not so much what we want. And that's just the energy that we are really caught up in right now. We're getting more of what we need and not so much of what we want. So one of my favorite spiritual practices to do that's related to Sekert that I would like to encourage you to do, well, actually two, during this full moon. Now, the full moon is happening early in the morning on the 14th. By the evening of the 14th, the moon will be in Aries. So if you're watching this on the 13th, I do encourage you to take some time out to do spiritual work on the 13th, but while the moon is fully in Pisces. Since that's the moon, you know, it's still going to be in the full moon phase once it passes, but it won't be in Pisces tomorrow evening on the 14th. Okay. So, things you can do for this particular full moon based on this oracle. would be pondering. Pondering. Let me see here. I know. I know, Free Hall. Sorry. Yeah, the reality check, this will make you say ouch. Because I promise you, I love bringing nice little Oshun feel good messages, but I know these really help us a lot too, right? Um, so pondering. This is one of my favorite spiritual practices. It's one that that it's like one of my power tools. So with pondering, what you do is you sit and you think deeply. That's what this energy speaks to, the ability to deeply think. And it is how I've gotten most of my spiritual insight. I ponder. I just sit and I'll just take something and I mill it over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's like my mind and my spirit chew on it. And then the next thing I know, and it might take days or weeks. I mean, I don't know. It's not necessarily that day. Sometimes it takes days or weeks, but I'll ponder and ponder and ponder. And then I will get the deepest insight. People want to know how I know what I know. A lot of it is through pondering. Have you ever sat and pondered? Another word would be contemplation. We should be doing lots of spiritual contemplation during this time because some of the wounds, here's a good one. Have you ever heard of someone who, for the longest time, they had some type of wound? Let's say it's from a parent. And one day they have this amazing thought come to their mind and they completely forgive their parent because they can now see how things worked out the way that they worked out. They can, to a certain degree, see things from their mother or their father's perspective. And now they're like, I now know this was nothing personal, what happened. And, I'm just making an example up, okay? Contemplation will do that. If you have an issue, a problem, something that you're trying to figure out, you can take it within to your spirit into contemplation. And it's like your spirit will chew on it, chew on it, chew on it until it gets to a point where your mind can wrap around it. That's the beautiful thing about contemplation, about pondering deep, protracted thinking. When you just, it's like, it's so deep, it's intense, and it's concentrated. That's a spiritual practice that is indicated by Sekert. Another one that's indicated by Sekert would be chanting. So what I tell people about chanting is, well, this is what I learned about chanting. Chanting opens up our power centers. This is one of the reasons that, there's so many different types of ways of chanting out there. Chanting will literally open up your power centers. And, I was listening again to the Four Agreements, and he talked about the power of our words, right? This is along those lines. And one of the things I love that he said this morning as I was listening is that, our words have the ability to create in so many different ways. How many of us remember something that was said to us long ago? And we still remember it to this day because it impacted us positively or negatively. We may not even remember the person's name, but we remember what they said. And those words have an impact on us. And they weren't even our words, but they had an impact on us, right? So this is the premise behind chanting. But when you begin to chant words of power, then what will happen is it will begin to align you with those words of power, begin to open those energy spaces within you. I'm glad I'm saying this. because I needed this today. Thank you, choir. I'm joking, but I did need this today. It'll begin to open those power centers within you. Why are we operating and acting like we are powerless? That is another thing that is indicated by Sekert. Are we operating according to our power? Now, Sekert is speaking in Hetep, which means the way is open for us to receive so many blessings during this full moon, all right, where we can step into our power. Pisces, the way you step into your power with Pisces, anybody that has a lot of Pisces energy, to a certain degree, 12th house energy, if you know your chart, Pisces has to trust in the great divine. It's not necessarily the easiest path. Sometimes Pisces, everything is out of the Pisces control, and they just have to, no matter how much they do, it will not work. They have to, or Pisces energy is, it calls you to trust in the great divine, the higher power. And that is where Pisces will benefit. If you are Pisces, let me tell you right here, right now, if you are down on your luck, you need to just say, this is how I say it. I cast myself into the care of my Ori. However you want to say it, I cast myself into the care of God. I cast myself into the care of the goddess. Whatever, insert whatever name. I cast myself into the care of my Orisha. You have to cast yourself into the care of the higher power. And then you have to go out and do something good and nice for somebody. I can tell you right here, right now, that is how I always manifest the most. And I needed to hear this today because my overwhelm is from doing. It's not trusting enough. And I know that when I trust in the powers of the universe, in the laws of the universe, everything works out just like that with grace and ease, right? So a lot of us are being called to operate from this spiritual place of power where we're gonna trust it's all gonna work out. All right. Because operating from a place of disempowerment, nah, it's time out for that. I can assure you 2020 ain't having that. All right. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. I just got a new patron. Anahata, how are you? Welcome. I'll shout you out in another video. Nice. Trying to see. Okay. Let me see what we have here. Hotep, Jamie, how are you? Hey, Johnny J. How are you? Okay. Yes. So I am Hi T-Book from Georgia. I am encouraging everyone with this Pisces moon also to go back and look at what were your goals for the Pisces new moon. So let me ask you a question. How many of you have written down, put pen to paper, your 2019 intentions? And how many of you write down your lunar intentions? How many of you write down your lunar intentions? Huh? So let me know. Nice, Johnny J. Nice. Definitely writing daily intentions are good. Okay. Out of practice. So that's what this is all about. This full moon is really giving us an opportunity maybe to see this is where I need to create more structure around an area that I'm struggling in. What are your struggles? Tell me something that you're struggling. Good for y'all. Tell me what you are struggling in. Tell me your struggles. Tell me an area that's sort of like being highlighted with this moon. And we'll talk about how to build a spiritual practice around it. Oh, the ones down in Atlanta, y'all are pretty close, I think. I don't know where Jonesboro is now that I think about it. Okay, so I'm going to start with Nanette. Nanette, you said daily ritual, spiritual rituals. Is that what you're saying? That's what that's what's come up for you. You need to create more structure around that. You're the second person that's mentioned that to me in a few days. I need to do something about that for y'all. Okay. So what I would recommend is, and this is general for everyone, some of what works for us is to a certain degree based on our makeup. Y'all know I love astrology. It's sort of based on our astrological makeup. All right. But in general, the thing you can do is you want to have something you do before you get out of bed, and you want to have something you do before you plant your feet. Yeah, before you plant your feet on the floor. And then you want to have something that you do after you get up, brush your teeth, drink some water, put your clothes on, and all of that. Okay. So before you get out of bed, what are some things that you can say? Think of some affirmations that you want to affirm for your day. You can say you're grateful for something. You can turn on an app and do like a 5-minute mindfulness meditation. I use Simple Habit, but others rave about their, mindfulness apps. You can greet your Ori, your higher self. There's a number of things you can do before your feet hit the bed so that you are already letting yourself know you're operating according to you and not the world. That's number one. What do you do before your feet hit the floor? Number two, after you get up and you're sort of like awake, what can you do before you leave your house, before you get started with your day? Because some of us, like for me, I've been a stay-at-home mom for a number of years. Even though I teach fitness and stuff, I don't even teach 10 hours a week. I'm a stay-at-home mom for the most part. And so even for people like me, who I'm not getting up going anywhere, even when my children were younger, it was like, okay, before I start momming, I need to get up and fill in the blank. If you go to work, when your day starts, even if you're someone who works a later shift, and let's say you work when the sun is out, and when it's getting close to the sun going down, that's when you're waking up. Doesn't matter. When your day starts, what do you do? It all depends on what is your spirituality. So for those of us in Ifa, we might do something. For those who practice the Kemetic spiritual traditions, or Khan, or Hinduism, Buddhism, it all depends on what that is for you, or what you lean to, even if you're not claiming a religion. The traditions of the religion that you sort of like lean towards, that is definitely something good to do. I believe in reading spiritual text, or listening to, via something like a, audiobook or whatever, or even watching something spiritual from a spiritual teacher, something that feeds your spirit. It could be you're going to listen to some chanting. You may not do the chanting yourself. I will go find a chant that so for instance, if it's coming from the Hindu tradition, I would choose a chant that represents the energy that I'm wanting to align myself with. Or for me, I'm initiated into the energy of Yemoja, so I might turn on one of her chants. But even if it's like 30 minutes, I think that's fair. 30 minutes to an hour, the longer the better. One other thing I'll add is, if you have some type of oracle deck that you like to use, Do a reading for yourself. Give yourself something to wrap your mind around, to apply all day long. And that helps to keep us centered. So when the coworker says something to us out the way, it's like, you know what? You're just giving me an opportunity to apply my spiritual teachings that I read about this morning. Or you're giving me an opportunity to show you compassion. That's what Pisces is about. Where can you show more compassion? So I can show you compassion. When in the past, I may have cussed you out, but without the spiritual practices, then eventually we begin to feel empty on the inside. It's like you feel so lost in life, and the um, the um, the path to your destiny is not lit. We feel so alone. The spiritual practice changes so much. That was a very good question. Let's see here. So Johnny says, my struggle has been releasing people and moving forward for my betterment. So for that, okay, what can we do to create structure around that? Part of the structure, I think, for that kind of thing is putting a boundary around yourself. So sometimes the structure is I need to have a set plan for what I will do each day in my actions. Sometimes the structure in the plan is around I'm going to guard how I spend my ashe, how I spend my mental currency, my emotional currency. And so you have to create boundaries. And so one boundary that I have for myself is if when I think about somebody, I'm feeling irritated like 80% of the time, maybe even 50% of the time. If I start feeling too irritated with somebody, then a boundary gets put around. As soon as I feel that irritation, boundary is up. Nope, not thinking about that. And it's just a choice. These kinds of things, they don't just like, they can go poof, but typically they go poof after we say, oh, for real, I've taken all value away from that person, that situation. I feel nothing. I'm moving on. But it does take some mental gymnastics for most of us to eventually get to that place where the boundary is when I think about this person, I'm telling myself, not today. I'm just not going to do it. The other thing is we have to take our power back from the situation, and we have to accept our role in relationships and people that we've dealt with, and just say, okay, I was caught up with that. These are the lessons I realized I needed to learn from that particular relationship. Lesson learned, because I do not want to go down this path again. And so now I'm backing myself up from the lesson. Because when it's really about the lesson and not so much about what that person did to you, but it's about what you came here to learn, that helps to put that boundary in there even more nicely. So that when we begin to think about that person, I just, this is how I talk to myself. I just don't want to feel bad anymore about this. It's past. I can't change it. And my future, my destiny is not being addressed when I'm focused. I'm looking this way at the past, but the destiny is in that direction. But emotionally, if we don't put that boundary up, we just keep getting tugged back in this direction when in fact we're trying to go in that direction. So the structure, the boundaries come in what we are deciding we're going to invest our mind, our mental energy, our spiritual energy, our ashe into. Hope that helps. Very good question. Very good question. So I hope that this has been helpful to you all. Please like the video, share the video, and I would absolutely love to hear how things turn out for you. I will say, this is just me, y'all. The moon being in Aries, we're going to feel motivated starting tomorrow. You know, there's that song. I can't even remember who sings it. I can hear her voice. And this too shall pass. There's some song I used to listen to. Um, and I know maybe other folks have quoted it or whatever. And this too shall pass. That's what we can remember about most of these transits. And this too shall pass. So, you know, allow yourself to have a release if you need to have one. Allow yourself to see where you need to tighten up your spirituality. Because I'm telling you, once that moon hits Aries, we're going to be feeling better. We're going to be wanting to take a little action. Okay. We are going into the waning moon phase. So you can take what is coming up that needs to be released and let go. You can take that and move it into what am I trying to say? Move it into the waning moon phase that we're going into now that the full moon is passing. Once it is passed, we'll be in the waning moon phase. And that's what you can take into the waning moon phase for releasing. That's what we want to do during the waning moon phase. We really want to let something go because we know we need to make the change that Oya is calling for us to make. We want that. Oya is only good. We're only afraid of Oya when we don't want to make the change, right? When we know we're not doing what we're supposed to do. This is another thing, karma. When we're not doing what we know we should be doing. So then it's like, oh my gosh, Oya is going to come through in a tornado and wipe it down. She doesn't do that unless she has to because she loves you that much. She loves us that much, right? So if we already know we need to be letting something go because this thing is keeping us from moving towards our destiny, then we see it's coming up during the full moon to be released during the waning moon, and we are wanting to never pick it back up again. If we find we some kind of way pick this thing back up again, next waning moon, bye. Right? Bye. Because it's about destiny. It's about your destiny. You are not destined to be walking around with a whole bunch of stuff on your back where you're like this, right? Disempowered. That's not, you are the divine in a body. When we expect God, the great mother, to be walking around like this, we would think, oh my God, we're in trouble. God and the goddess, they not feeling too well today. Like that does not even compute, does it? Right? So, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm asking you to look at what's coming up, release it in the waning moon phase. Get ready for the new moon. The next new moon is going to be in Libra. Isn't that exciting? Libra, social Libra. But thank you all so much. I need to go and do the reading for those of you who get the readings in my membership site. I need to get that weekly reading done for next week. Oh, by the way, have you heard about my membership site? It's at patreon.com/goddess body mind spirit. You can go and join for as little as $5, and you get most of the videos that I release first. But I do put some exclusive content in for those of you at the $5 level also. But yeah, join me in Patreon. And so with that, keep me posted. Love y'all. Blessings of the goddess be upon you. And let's see what else is coming to us from this full moon in Pisces. Okay. Don't let it beat you up too much, y'all. Get a little spiritual with it and see if your guides are gonna speak to you and all that kind of good stuff. It could be good. It could be good. It could be real good. All right, y'all take care. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Yay. Thank you, Johnny. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Mwah. Y'all take care. See you. Peace.